Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Yesterday, I let off the show with Martin Short, who had riffed a bunch of jokes on Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show. There are more of them, as recapped by Vulture. Jimmy asked Martin Short, "How's your summer going?" Martin Short, "What's so beautiful? I've been up with the loons in my cottage, and do I regret my Kim and Pete Forever tattoo? Sure." Oh, and how do I know about this? You know, I was at Mar-a-Lago during the big FBI raid. I'm a member there. I don't like Trump's politics, but I love his omelet station. And it's great because if you're a member, you can read as many classified documents as you want. They're all over the place. I know the Trumps. I used to babysit the kids, for God's sake. Eric and Don Jr. would play Monopoly, but their version is the winner's the first person to yell bankruptcy. Jimmy Fallon brought up Steve Martin, who Martin Short does a lot of comedy with. Martin said, "First of all, he's the most talented guy in the world, you know? I mean, he does magic, he juggles, he plays the banjo, and yet somehow he's famous. We're a team now. We're like Florida and a lower back tattoo." Have you learned anything from Steve Martin? I've learned that he will pay top dollar for clean urine. I've learned from him you don't need to have a pool boy. No, but he really is amazing. He's a unique man. You know, he butt dialed me the other day, which is kind of remarkable because he has a rotary phone. Jimmy Fallon brought up the Emmys. Martin Short said, "I'm letting you know I'm making it red carpet official with Liz Cheney when I go there. Steve and I are nominated, and if I can't win, I hope he wins. But if I can win, screw him, you know? If I lose, I'm going to send Will Smith up to slap him." Here's what's amazing. If somebody told me 20 years ago that I'd be on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon with all these Emmy nominations, I would have said, "Jimmy Fallon?" Good stuff. John Oliver continues to poke at his new bosses. He was in the middle of a story about Sarah Palin. The setup: Sarah knows how to work a crowd, but it's Sarah Inc. Oliver then said, "Sarah Inc. sounds like the title of a sitcom starring Kat Dennings that's already been quietly disappeared from HBO Max." He made fun of HBO's slogan, "It's not TV, it's HBO," adding, "HBO Max, it's not TV, it's a series of tax write-offs to appease Wall Street." Oliver noted that Sarah Palin running for office is giving him 2008 vibes. It's like 2008 all over again. Palin's running for office, the U.S. entered a bear market, and Sex and the City is making spin-offs that, quite frankly, it doesn't have the material to back up. All right, strap yourselves in for this story. This has all kinds of twists and turns. I saw this on bestlifeonline.com. Say it with me. You're home for comedy news. The headline: the drama surrounding Brooklyn pastor Lamar Miller Whitehead extended onto celebrity social media this week. This is going to end with D.L. Hughley and a boxing ring. All right, are you ready? So who's this Whitehead fellow? I didn't know either. He apparently attracted headlines back in July after he was robbed of jewelry valued at $1 million. The robbery happened during a live-streamed church service on July 24th. Pastor Whitehead has expressed unhappiness with an interview he did with comedian D.L. Hughley. Whitehead complained about Hughley on Instagram and challenged him to a duel in the boxing ring. He called the encounter an ambush, which is cool, and said, "You will not walk all over me, you will not villainize me, and you will not disrespect me. Meet me in the ring, because y'all think you can walk all over pastors. Let's set up a celebrity match. Me and you in the ring, Bishop Whitehead and D.L. Hughley, because you run your mouth behind the mic, right? And you all think these preachers are punks behind a pulpit. I'm in favor of this. Can we make this happen?" According to the article, after Whitehead accused Hughley of supporting the men who robbed him, he said, "I'm dropping the top on you, DL. Let's get in the ring." And what did he mean by dropping the top? He dropped the top on his Rolls-Royce convertible. Whitehead then published a second video accusing Hughley of coming after him like a little girl, like a little chihuahua on his radio show. But at the end of the day, he needs ratings, y'all. So little man D.L. Hughley, I challenge you in a boxing ring. Right, tough guy? I don't want to hear you don't box, because if your mouth is big, let's get in the ring. I ain't going to hurt you. I'll knock you out in the name of Jesus. This is so much fun. Whitehead predicted he would knock out Hughley in the first round. Can we please make this happen? I will watch this. And offer to put up $1 million on the result. The pastor said, "Train for 90 days. I'll set it up. I'll put up $1 million. Me and my team will put up $1 million right now." Whitehead says he's not a punk. "Yes, I'm a bishop. I got the word of the Lord in my mouth." Hughley responded on Instagram, commenting on a post by gossip site The Shade Room. Hughley wrote, "He's spitting all over the screen." He added, "What pastor you know can put up $1 million right now?" Reading from the book of Scamulations. Hughley then shared an Instagram post of a series of TikTok videos criticizing Whitehead. They showed Whitehead wearing a large ruby ring during the robbery. Then the next week during a sermon, the pastor wore a suit printed with the Gucci logo. The TikToker suggests Whitehead staged the robbery as insurance fraud. Hughley wrote, "Hey, TD fakes, I know Jesus rose after 3 days, but a ring? Come on, bruh. You need to save that million for bail money." Hashtag Team DL. All right, let's keep an eye on that one. That is so much fun. Yesterday, I promised you, cool Tom Segura story. I know you've been waiting. Here it is from Deserto. Tom Segura told the story on his podcast. Segura's bus driver was involved in an accidental drug trafficking arrest while attempting to cross international borders. Good headline there. Segura was already having a crappy night. There was bad audio on one of his live shows. The manager came in and as Segura tells it, "I think it's going to be about the staff." He goes, "Come with me." And I'm like, this is a pretty serious talk about sound, but it wasn't. It was about the driver of the bus being detained by border police after they came on the bus and found an abundance of weed, which is a great phrase. An abundance of weed was found inside the comedian's room. Segura got to speak with the driver, who told him the check went fine until they went in the room and found the marijuana. Segura says he began to put the pieces together. Right away, it hits me. I go, it's got to be from a gift. Right, so now the bus driver's screwed. What are we going to do here? Suddenly, the border officer goes, "Whose bus did you say this is?" The driver says it's Tom Segura's. The border officer then says, "Tell Tom to smoke all this stuff if he ever wants to cross the border," and uncuffed the driver and let him go. The crew decided to throw out the abundance of marijuana so that they could keep their show on the road. I also had promised you a Richard Jeni story. I was listening back to the podcast, and that story I read yesterday that referred to him as Rich Jeni. Now, I didn't know the man personally. I spoke to him once I'm about to tell you about, but I only knew him as Richard Jeni. So just that press release said Rich Jeni, I was like, huh? Anyway, as I've mentioned in the past, I used to run Sirius XM Comedy. One day the phone rings, and Richard Jeni has a question for me. He wants to know how I got hold of one of his bits, and I'm confused by this. So I forget what the bit was called. Let me pretend the bit was called Clock, as I'm staring at a clock. All right, so Richard Jeni calls me up, and he's like, "Hey, that bit Clock, how did you get that?" So I call it up on the computer, and I tell him, "Richard, it's on your album." And he says, "No, it's not." And I'm looking at it. When you would load comedy clips into the computer, they would have sequential numbers. There would be a root number and then a tag number. So the root number would be, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then track 1 would be -001, 002, 003. You get the idea. You know how to count. So I'm looking at this, and the bit that he's asking me about is like -010. And I'm like, "It's on your album." And he's like, "No, it's not." Now, he's Richard Jeni, and I'm not. And I'm like, "I'm going to have to get back to you because I don't know. I didn't invent the bit. It's in sequence. Like, I'm totally confused by this. Like, it would have required us somehow pirating a bit and then deliberately inserting it in numerical order." So I went digging on this, and I found out, and I called him back the next day, and I found the actual CD in the library. And Richard, we had gotten an early release of the album. Originally, this cut was on the album. It's no longer, but it wasn't on the official release. No one told me. "I got this from your record label. I'll take the cut off." He was totally cool. He wasn't out to get me or anything. He was just curious how the heck I had gotten this bit. He was a great comedian, really starting to be forgotten now, which is a shame. But that's the Richard Jeni story. If you like what I do here, you can buy me a coffee because this one's almost empty. buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. Sheng Wang has a special coming out. Sweet and Juicy will be on Netflix September 6th. The trailer is out. In the trailer, we see him saying, "The best part of any office job is the fact that you can print. They can't take away printing now. Printing is the only thing stopping the revolution." When they say stuff like, "We need you to come in on Friday after Thanksgiving," that's when I'm like, okay, I guess it's time for me to self-publish my Gmail account. Great joke. Nathan Fielder's show, The Rehearsal, getting a lot of good reviews. I need to find some time to watch that. Oh, I watched Game of Thrones. First word, Gama, Gayma. Second word, Thrones. What's it called? House of the Dragon? House of the Dragon. Is it right? I don't know. They toned down the violence and the sex. And look, I'm not looking for porn, but there was a brothel scene and it wasn't as brothely as in the past. And again, it's not why I'm watching, but it's noticeable when Game of Thrones is very brothely and House of Dragon, a couple boobs and some legs and arms. It was just weird. It was kind of boring. I don't know. Did you like it? I digress. Oh, other thing to follow up from yesterday. I had commented, I wrapped up the show because it was 95 degrees in my office. The air conditioning was out. I woke up and I discovered the batteries of the thermostat had failed, so there was no temperature control. So it was 95 degrees in my office. All right, back to comedy. Stop telling random stories. Nathan Fielder's show has been reviewed for a second season. I need to find time to watch that in between 8 million things. Plus, it's video game season. The new Madden is out. You played Madden 23? I really like it. From Chortle, Jimmy Carr. Johnny Mac, you never mentioned Jimmy Carr. Jimmy Carr is about to host a Channel 4 program about free expression in art. The 75-minute program, you Brits are so weird, why that number, will be an arts event like no other, combining stunts, surprises, and special guests. It will also feature Public Experiment, conducted by well-known artists across Britain. We did not get a quote from Jimmy Carr, which is a shame. Meanwhile, from comedy.co.uk, which actually could be your home for comedy news, now you point that out, Channel 4 has commissioned Prince Andrew the Musical, an hour-long satirical comedy. It's a send-up of the life and times of the Duke set to a musical score. The 60-minute musical will focus on key events, relationships, and controversies of Andrew's life. You know, like the whole thing where, I don't want to get into it. If you want your royal news, listen to Palace Intrigue. That's 5 minutes a day. I'm the writer on it. We cover the royal family. We've been having a lot of fun lately, but the Prince Andrew stuff is all yucky. Sean McCarthy, he writes for the Comics Comic. He's been over at Fringe. He's reviewing shows. He gave Emily Wilson's Fixed 4.5 stars out of 5. Nobody getting the 5 yet from Sean McCarthy. He writes about Emily Wilson's Fixed. The idea of chasing fame feels all too familiar for young women Wilson's age, as the bridge between millennial and Gen Z grew up with social media and YouTube. But can you imagine you're 15 and you suddenly find yourself on stage, judged by Simon Cowell alongside Paula Abdul, Nicole Scherzinger, and Justin Bieber's producer, L.A. Reid, on the inaugural American season of The X Factor in 2011. You don't have to picture it in your head, because there's so much film documentation of it. And Wilson, now 26, is ready to take a step back and hilariously relive all her mortifying moments with us in both songs and confessional stories. Emily Wilson Fix runs through Monday at Pleasance Courtyard Beneath. Sean also reviewed Reese Nicholson's Reese, 4 stars out of 5. The question, are straight men okay? It's a valid question for Reese Nicholson to ask, or for anybody paying attention to the news inside or outside of comedy these days. Nicholson's newest hour, which won Most Outstanding Show earlier this year at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, worries more about the cis boys and their heteronormative relationships than about their own status in life and love. If the show Sean attended is any indication, even the straight men in the audience have some soul-searching to do. Nicholson jokes about never needing to come out as gay, even growing up in Newcastle, where it felt more welcoming for minors, the kind with pickaxes, than for minors, meaning people under 18, who may be queer. Nicholson had planned to get married in 2020, and then there was pandemic and stuff. And yet, Nicholson's already looking forward to divorce, if only for the status and privilege of opening up a particular type of shop. Sean writes, I couldn't come away from this hour without wanting to already hear the next hour. That's great. Reese Nicholson, Reese, through August 28th at Underbelly, Bristow Square, Ermintrude. I love these show names. Let's do one more because I bounced this from yesterday. Sarah Sherman, also at the Fringe. This review from The Guardian. Sherman's show, pitched between anti-comedy, performance art, and body horror, leaves no doubt why she's also known as Sarah Squirm. As often alienating as enjoyable. Delightfully weird, says the pre-publicity. I'm not sure that covers it, writes the writer. Sarah Sherman delivers to the Fringe one of those late-night, is this really happening shows that feels like a fever dream. There's a lot of laughter, most of it Sherman's own. There are 2 recognizably comic set pieces, a riff sending up her hometown's civic pride and a thick New York accent, another on the ways her well-networked dad will find you a job. There's a guided meditation set piece, the joke of which, as conventional as Sherman gets, is that her narration is profoundly unsoothing and sexually unsettling. In the second half, she does the Sarah Squirm persona, a series of DIY video animations illustrate a guess what you're looking at quiz, you're not ready for this, in which the answers range from hemorrhoid blood, pimple pop cream cheese, and turd emerging from a place turds emerge from. Sarah Sherman, Sarah Squirm at the Gilded Balloon in Edinburgh. Not for the faint-hearted, but worth a look for those interested in far-out comedy. Good review there, and that is your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your shows, and I'll see you tomorrow.